very much, Ken. On behalf of Molson Breweries, it's my pleasure to welcome all the racing fans here to Vancouver today. What a great day for the 5th running of the Molson Indy Vancouver. Events of this magnitude couldn't possibly happen if it weren't for support from a great number of people. And I'd just like to outline a few for you. Certainly the City of Vancouver have been most cooperative, and we thank them for all their help. And in conjunction with our partners at Concord Pacific, here at Concord Pacific Place, we know that we couldn't have an event like this without their help and their cooperation. We are very appreciative of the support that we receive from all the other co-sponsors, and we thank them as well. And very important, most important perhaps, the support that we get from you, the racing fans here in Vancouver, who are gathering here on this weekend again in record numbers, and we're very pleased to have that happen again. Here in the community, there is also some impact of this event, and I want to mention just briefly a gala affair last Thursday night for Alzheimer's Society in honor of Mario Andretti as part of the Arrivederci Farewell to Mario program. $80,000 was raised to donate to the Alzheimer's cause, and we're very pleased. Thank you also to the 650 volunteers on the site. Couldn't do this without you as well. Thank you very much for all your help. Good luck to the teams, and a special best wish from Molson's to the 3 Canadian drivers today. Good luck and a safe ride.
Thank you very much, John. And as we get set for the start of this race, hockey fans all across Canada and the United States are getting set for the start of hockey season. And the team that plays in this city of Vancouver is getting ready for the long road back to the Stanley Cup final. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for a dozen members of the Vancouver Canucks. And let's start with the captain right here, Trevor Linden. And it's fitting, Trevor, I guess on a Labor Day weekend we should be talking about labor, but at least you guys are heading to training camp, but starting tomorrow in Kamloops. That's got to be a good sign.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it, and not only that, but we're looking forward to the start of the year in October.
Now, you have a new coach coming in Rick Lee. Pat Quinn goes upstairs. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's great. I think that Pat, with the 3 jobs, was a little overworked, so he's going to just stick to 2 jobs, and we're looking forward to Rick taking over.
Now, what about Jeff Courtnall over here to my left? Jeff, everybody's going to be gunning for the Vancouver Canucks this year, you'd think.
I think a lot of teams will definitely come after us. I think we showed in the playoffs what a good team we are, and we have to be ready for the start.
Is there a team that's made changes that scares you the most?
Well, I think right now it's, I think St. Louis have made some big acquisitions, and they'll be tough.
All right, let's count it down. Ready for those magic words in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Trevor Linden, Pavel Bure, and the Vancouver Canucks giving the signal to start the engines here on the West Coast as we look at Californian Robbie Gordon. There is Nigel Mansell, who starts alongside Gordon on row number 1. Bobby Unser, the cars will go around, hopefully on the 3rd time around. They will get the green flag and be racing here in Vancouver, a 102-lap race. As they go around for the first time, we're looking at Boiselle. They're still sitting on the grid. We'll pull back and show you turn number 1 as we look at Teo Fabi. Again, why do you think the first turn is going to be crucial here today? There's the first turn.
Well, on a road circuit, it's hard to pass. A lot harder than it is on ovals, or some road circuits a little bit easier than this one. So you'll notice as the guys come down the straightaway right now that you see them leaving on, that is really, really important. So how they come out of the last turn, turn 10 down, there's going to be really important, because they have to get an edge on the other guys here, because number 1 turn is going to determine the end of the long straightaway and who gets through the hairpin first. From then on, passing will be very hard. So back to all that confusion, this front straightaway right here and going into the first turn, what we see right there is really the important one.
Well, this is the straightaway on Pacific Boulevard where they'll hit speeds. Let's hang on before looking at the grid for just a minute. We'll show you. Here's the hairpin. This is the best place to pass under braking. It's a right-hand hairpin at the end of Pacific Boulevard where they've been hitting speeds of 190 miles an hour. After this, it is very, very difficult to pass on this Vancouver course. Well, it's a 20-car or 28-car field here in BC today. They had many more than that here, but 28 have qualified for this race. And on the pole, it's Californian Robbie Gordon, 2 for 2 in Canada this year on the poles. The Friday time stands up. Former Formula One defending PPG champion Nigel Mansell is yet to win. Michael Andretti's won twice here in Vancouver, has been on the pole in 3 previous years. Yeah, I'll tell you, Scott Goodyear with a great late session charge yesterday to grab 4th. Teo Fabi from Milano, Italy, driving for Jim Hall on row 3, along with Paul Tracy, a winner in Detroit. He did crash yesterday. Now, speaking of crashes, Johansson does well here, but he had a wreck in practice this morning. Al Unser Jr. with food poisoning managed to move up to row 4 yesterday after missing Friday. Jacques Villeneuve not bad on row 5 for the rookie. From a rookie to a veteran, Mario Andretti's final start in Vancouver. From Mexico City, Adrian Fernandez has been driving very, very well in the Reynard. Emerson Fittipaldi, his worst qualifying position of the year. Another Brazilian, another former Formula One driver, Gugelmin, Mauricio Gugelmin, along with Scott Sharp, the Connecticut driver, on row number 7. On to row 8. Bobby Rahal does well in Toronto with the Honda, was second and has done well here. Mark Smith driving today from Oregon in the Craftsman car for Derek Walker. Eddie Cheever, he replaces Brian Herta for A.J. Foyt, who was injured in Toronto. Ari Leyendyk is the 1990 Indianapolis 500 champion. Dominic Dobson from nearby Bellevue, Washington. Raul Boisel, South American, now living in Key Biscayne, Florida. Mike Groff, the Ohio driver, on row 11, along with Jimmy Vasser, who is from Discovery Bay, California. And on to row number 12 from Brazil, another of the Brazilian wave, Marco Greco. And he is alongside Canadian Claude Bourbonnais, who did well in practice yesterday. Another rookie, Parker Johnston from Redmond, Oregon. And the first black driver ever in the Indy 500, Californian Willie T. Ribbs. Buddy Legier. He's in a colorful car here today, and he is joined on the final row, speaking of colorful cars, by Alessandro Zampedre. And Bobby Unser, as the cars are on the second of 3 scheduled warm-up laps before this 102-lap race. We should mention Stefan Johansson. He had a bad wreck right just before this turn this morning when he lost the rear end of the car, actually smashed a concrete barrier in 2. He has to go back and start at the back of the field.
Well, no, he actually isn't going to start at the back of the field, but he did go to a backup car.
So they're going to let him start up?
Yes, they do. What they've done is they've changed the rules on that. That's the way it used to be. And so now they allow him to start in his original position, but he is with a car that hasn't run at all this weekend.
So Stefan Johansson, as they've changed the rules, there he is right there. Stefan Johansson in car 16 will start in his regular position. Let's have a look at this course. 102 laps in Vancouver, very tough on brakes. You see the start-finish area, then the left-hand turn one Bobby talked about, then down that straightaway to the left of your screen at about 190 miles an hour, that sharp hairpin, then up along underneath BC Place Stadium. A very tough course to pass on, and really turn 3 is the key passing area.
2 chicanes, you know, look at your hairpin. The very next one is a chicane. That's a place where they pass a little bit.
And we'll get a look as they come down to the end of Pacific Boulevard on the 3rd lap. They should be racing the next time around. Here, Bobby, are some of those chicanes you talked about up beside BC Place Stadium.
Yes, and if you look at them right now, they're going into a chicane. Now look how narrow it gets, tight in here. Now you can only pass here going in. Of course, there's not enough power to pass coming out, but that is where we have a lot of wrecks. Here's going under BC Stadium right here. Gets a little dark in there if you'll notice. And just imagine, it really, 150 miles an hour, gets dark. Here's the second chicane that we're going through right out under the tunnel, what I call the tunnel, BC Place. Through this chicane, they almost hit the wall to the left there. Very often, you'll see a lot of the cars get loose and the rear end coming out of there. Now the cars are all getting in line.
On the right of your screen, car 9, the Cummins diesel car, is Robbie Gordon, the pole sitter. On the left of your screen is car number 1, Nigel Mansell. They should be racing. We look at the starter as they come across the start-finish line, and we are underway in Vancouver. It's Robbie Gordon through first on turn number 1 and down onto Pacific Boulevard. He's followed by Mansell, Andretti, Goodyear, Bobby, Tracy, Unser, and Johansson. So Robbie Gordon is through turn 3. There's Mansell. Scott Goodyear has moved up and running very, very well. There goes Johansson past Al Unser Jr. into 7th place. So a clean start here this afternoon in Vancouver.
Well, that was really good because often we have a traffic jam right down in the hairpin turn. Everybody got through there good, but they were going through there 2 abreast, and a bunch of them at 2 abreast.
As they come up outside BC Place Stadium, just up by that Molson Canadian sign on the upper right-hand portion of the screen is where Johansson had his accident this morning. So they complete the first of a scheduled 102 laps in Vancouver. It's Robbie Gordon, Nigel Mansell, Michael Andretti, Scott Goodyear, Teo Fabi, and now Paul Tracy is back ahead of Stefan Johansson and Al Unser Jr.
Now, keep in mind, Stefan Johansson, the 16 car, that one right there that says Alumax on it. He hasn't driven that car before, so he's really gambling that the mechanics did it right. And not only that, he's moving up.
Paul Tracy has moved up 1 place. Mario Andretti comes through, followed by Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve currently running 10th on lap 2 here in Vancouver. There is Al Unser Jr., followed by Jacques Villeneuve and the Mexican driver Adrian Fernandez. Al Unser Jr. missed qualifying. There he is, car 31. Missed qualifying on Friday at food poisoning. Could barely get out of the car yesterday. Again, Bobby, you said he appears much better this morning as he's dueling now. That's Tracy dueling with Teo Fabi, and Fabi has gone past Paul Tracy.
Now that's something you don't see very often. Fabi has been having trouble all year. He's leading that team at the end of the year, so you didn't expect that to happen. Tracy, on the other hand, is usually very fast on this course.
So there is Scott Goodyear, followed by Fabi, Tracy, and Johansson, and word is that car number 1, Nigel Mansell, has slowed considerably. Mansell, who had the 2nd fastest time in qualifying, slowing down here in Vancouver. It's still the pole sitter, Robbie Gordon, in the lead. There's Goodyear 4th, Fabi 5th, Tracy 6th, Johansson is 7th, Mario Andretti 8th, Al Unser Jr. is 9th, and Jacques Villeneuve rounds out the top 10.
Now everybody needs to keep in mind,
Michael Andretti is now run into 2nd place, dropping Nigel Mansell down.
Everybody needs to keep in mind, I started to say, Brian, that passing is very hard on a road circuit. So the guys are racing very hard right now so they can get their gains done while their tires are still good and fresh.
So Mansell is now running 3rd. The leader is still Robbie Gordon. There is Mansell, who is running 3rd, followed by Goodyear, who is 4th, Fabi, who is 5th, and there's Paul Tracy 6th, Stefan Johansson 7th, and Mario Andretti is 8th.
Another thing to keep in mind, all the cars are on full loads of fuel. They hold 40 gallons of fuel. Some of them didn't do any practice with them with full fuel tanks. Could be what Nigel's having a problem with right now. They don't handle the same from empty like when they qualify to full like now.
It's Robbie Gordon across the start-finish line. There's the 2nd place car of Michael Andretti. Here's the 3rd place car now of Nigel Mansell. Goodyear, Fabi, Tracy across the start-finish line and down onto Pacific Boulevard.
You can watch the cars go through the bumps. Remember we said this is not a smooth drive. Look at all the black rubber marks going down at the end of the straightaway in the hairpin. That shows you that's where the passing happens, but everybody tries to pass there. Therefore, sometimes when they go in the turn, they're locking up the tires.
You know, Bobby, it's not just rubber from these races. It's rubber from some of the support races that have really been causing some problems. That's really been causing some problems here in Vancouver.
Yes, because almost from daylight till darkness, we have races every day. This is not only an IndyCar race, but a very big race weekend.
Scott Goodyear followed by Teo Fabi and Paul Tracy. Tracy does not get by Fabi. Down into the start-finish line comes Scott Goodyear, Teo Fabi, Paul Tracy, Stefan Johansson, Mario Andretti, and Al Unser Jr., who is now running ninth. Very quickly, let's go down to Sally Larvik.
Well, we asked about Nigel slowing down, and the answer they gave us was that for the first couple of laps, the gears were stiff. They're okay now, and they just gave me a thumbs up, and apparently Nigel is all right on the track. And Bobby, you could probably explain that a little bit further.
Well, what happens, Sally, you're absolutely right. The gears are a sequential shift. They shift like a motorcycle. To the people that understand motorcycles, they just keep pulling on the lever, and they don't just keep going back of it. Every time they pull on it, it pops another gear up. And of course, to go downshifting, they do the other way around. You cannot shift, for example, from 6th to 2nd. You have to go right down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, like that, and the same way going up. So what they do is they put in new gears for the race, and they just didn't shift real good right away.
There's Nigel Mansell currently running third. Goodyear is fourth. Fabi, Paul Tracy, Johansson, and Mario Andretti. Scott Goodyear, who had the horrific start to the season and then managed to win the Michigan 500, came out of nowhere yesterday, Bobby, to qualify fourth. It was at the end of the second qualifying session when Goodyear, as Fabi tries to make a move and does not get by Scott Goodyear, when Goodyear came from 15th all the way up to 4th place.
Remember, we said the second best pace to pass on this track, besides the hairpin, get along straightaway, is going into these chicanes, because this is where the guys have to brake hard. Or in other words, any time that a car has to brake hard, that's where the passing is the easiest.
Great race for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th places. There's the Bud car of Goodyear, who's 4th. Tracy is all over the 5th place car, Teo Fabi. Mansell is across the finish line. Goodyear, Fabi, Tracy, and Stefan Johansson in a backup car that has not been tried here this weekend.
And doing very well. Of course, Fabi's in the yellow car right there. And normally he is not this good. He just has had a terrible year this year. But today he's really aggressive, so I expect something out of him.
Well, a good, safe, and exciting start here in Vancouver. Live coverage of the Molson Indy Vancouver will continue on CBC right after this. Here is car 9, Robbie Gordon, the young Californian, driving for Derek Walker, and he has a 5-second lead over Nigel Mansell. There is Andretti, and Andretti has now moved back into second. There is Mansell now third. There is Goodyear fourth, and Fabi fifth, followed by Paul Tracy. Out of the race, car
There's a fire right there. Look at there on Zan Pedro's car. He's got a fire on the left side. He's pulling in to the first chicane there. Somebody's got to get that fire out. What you see burning is the carbon fiber. Now that was getting a big fire. Now, it's alcohol in these cars. There's not going to be an explosion, and it looks a whole lot worse than it is, but it is expensive.
Car 19 is Alessandro Zampedri driving for Dale Coyne. Having a little trouble with that fire extinguisher. It's a Lola chassis with a Ford Cosworth engine. It's a full course yellow in Vancouver. Zampedri was running last in this field of 28. So a full course yellow with Robbie Gordon leading, Michael Andretti second, Nigel Mansell third, Scott Goodyear is fourth, Teo Fabi fifth, Paul Tracy is sixth, Johansson, Mario Andretti, Jacques Villeneuve, and Al Unser Jr. rounding out the top 10.
Now in Zan Pedro's car right there, what you're seeing again is not alcohol. Alcohol fires are invisible. The only thing you're seeing burn there are like the carbon fiber, hoses, things like that. And if you noticed, you saw different colors of smoke coming out. That's a hose opposed to the carbon fiber that the body is made out of, or something like that.
Bobby, before going to commercial, explain the difference in fuels, in particular the fuel used in these Indy cars, speaking of fire.
Yes, it's what it is. It's alcohol, and it's a form of alcohol that's used for sometimes cars that mix it with gasoline, and it burns half of the temperature of gasoline but uses twice as much. Or an easy way to say it is it puts half the BTUs of heat out as gasoline does. So you use twice as much. But the bottom line is it cools better, it's safer, and it does make a little bit more horsepower.
So car 19, Zempedre, is out of this race. We're under a full course yellow in Vancouver. And back live in Vancouver, Zempedre, of course, the driver, Alessandro Zempedre, is fine. You saw him jump out of the car. Again, this was not a fuel fire on the Dale Coyne car, the Lola Ford Cosworth. But Bobby Unser, let's stay on this shot for just a minute as it smolders. There is a reason that methanol is used in IndyCar racing as opposed to the gasoline that is used in Formula One.
It certainly is. It's like I tried to get in really quick a little while ago, it's a whole lot safer. For example, in the methanol fire, you can just put water on it and it puts it out. Water mixes with methanol. Okay, but in gasoline, like we use on a Formula One car, the stock cars, you put water on it. All it does is just push it away, or it doesn't change the consistency of it. It burns just as hot. Water won't put gasoline out. Water will put methanol out. This fire was probably started by a broken header, which started burning the hoses and the other stuff around it, like the bodywork.
Now, you mentioned fuel. As we look at the cars under a full course yellow, there's the leader, Robbie Gordon, followed by Michael Andretti, Nigel Mansell, Scott Goodyear, Teo Fabi, Paul Tracy, Stefan Johansson, Mario Andretti, Jacques Villeneuve, and now just coming around, Al Unser Jr., Adrian Fernandez, Emerson Fittipaldi. But talking about fuel, how does this full course yellow affect pit stop strategy?
Well, it's going to throw everything into chaos, but it's all good chaos, and here's the reason why. All they needed here was 8 laps under the yellow to put everybody in a good safe zone, because this track, as we always tell the people every year, is hard on fuel mileage because it's so fast. The faster the road course is, the more fuel that you use. So they needed 8 laps here, and that puts everybody into a good area to work their pit stops in. What it does, when I said chaos, causes everybody to change their way of thinking. So all the guys in the pits are replanning their pit stops right now.
Now, for the uninitiated, we should point out that each team, based on the length of the course, it's 1.65 miles per lap here. There are 102 laps. They are allotted a certain amount of fuel as they come across the start-finish area, and I believe they'll get one more lap under the full course yellow before they are racing again. But every team gets the same amount of fuel.
Correct.
How they divide it up is up to them, whether they start full, whether they start a little less, when they pit. In fact, into the pits right now is Willie T. Ribbs, but every team is allotted the same amount of fuel.
Now, for example, this is not fuel, this is a mechanical change. He thinks he needs something changed on his car, but you're right on the fuel. What it is, the cars are allowed 1.8 miles per gallon is what they have to get. The track, so you can just rough it out in your head, 1 mile or 1 gallon each time they make a lap, because a lap is 1.65.
With more on the fuel story, quickly down to Ken Daniels. Kenny?
All right, Brian, to expand on that a little bit more here in the pit of Scott Goodyear and Budweiser team, every 2 laps of yellow or so, they say we'll buy them another lap out there. So they were looking at anywhere a window between 33, 39, now probably closer to 40. Emerson Fittipaldi, he's going to go about 40 as well. So that's where they're looking at going. You mentioned Willie T. Ribbs came into the pits. He's been having some handling problems. Brian?
All right, Kenny, they've completed 13 laps. They're about to come around on lap 14. Here is Andretti passing Nigel Mansell, lap number 4, to go into second place. It's on that straightaway. I think there's something wrong with Mansell's car.
Well, there obviously is something wrong with his car. Probably. You remember, they shift. If that turn that you saw him getting a run at him is the last gear he puts it in right there. And that's obviously where he had problems.
As they complete lap 14, the field is racing again in Vancouver. Michael Andretti was able to close up on the leader, Robbie Gordon. Paul Tracy is all over Teo Fabi. Fabi beginning now to pull away from Tracy. There's Gordon. There's Andretti. There's Mansell through the hairpin. There's Scott Goodyear. Goodyear followed by Fabi and Tracy. And Andretti cannot make a move, or excuse me, Goodyear cannot make a move. So as they come through the chicane and under BC Place Stadium, it is still Robbie Gordon, Michael Andretti, Nigel Mansell. Scott Goodyear is all over Nigel Mansell.
Boy, you see, they have to really try hard at the starts because that's the easiest time to pass. Sometimes it's the only time that they can pass, especially when the cars are really close together. Look at Robbie Gordon locking up his tires going in. He just really knows that Michael is the one behind him. Michael is one of the most aggressive. Well, here's two of the most aggressive guys on the whole track, Robbie Gordon and Michael Andretti.
On board with Nigel Mansell, there he is, car number 1, as he follows Michael Andretti down Pacific Boulevard. There's Robbie Gordon, followed by Andretti and Mansell on board with Mansell around the hairpin and up to the far side of BC Place Stadium.
Now you can see the mirror right there in Robbie Gordon's car. He's looking. Every time he gets a little straightaway, he looks and sees Michael right back there. So he's figuring out where he thinks Michael is going to try to pass. One thing is for sure, Michael will try to pass, as you just saw happen going in the chicane. Almost had a wreck right there. Now here's the wall coming right to the left there where the car's almost hit. A lot of times they come out and their rear ends get loose. Now they're almost full of fuel. Pretty soon the fuel is going to start running down. They'll get even looser yet in the rear end.
And across the start-finish area, on board with Michael Andretti, pursuing the race leader, Robbie Gordon. The left-hand turn number 1 down onto Pacific Boulevard, 190 miles an hour.
And you can see Michael has fallen back just a little bit now. What he did is he had his best cards on the table right at the start. He pushed as hard as he could right there to Robbie Gordon. When they get up close like that in a turn and a part in the straightaway, remember, speed is feet per minute. But Michael gained a whole bunch because Robbie got caught up in that car. But Michael has fell back a little bit there for a while because he realizes that he can't pass if they're going the same speed.
And we just saw Paul Tracy has passed Scott Goodyear, so Tracy is now running 5th, and Goodyear has dropped down to 6th place. Sally Larvick.
Well, you talked about Nigel Mansell, and we mentioned he had problems with the gears earlier, and that was no problem. But you said, Bobby, that maybe he still does have a problem. Well, let me tell you, it's strategy. Nigel said he can go faster, but he doesn't want to yet because it's a long race. So he's just going to hold back, hope that something happens in the front, and then go for it at the end.
Well, what that really means probably, Sally, is look at that. Villeneuve is having bad problems. He's had a wreck. The body is loose. All the right front of his car is coming loose. It's going to be to the pits for him, that's for sure.
Jacques Villeneuve was running in the top 10. Now in trouble. There's Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr., car 31, is running 9th. Villeneuve is now down to 12th and falling. He has lost the part of that car. Jacques Villeneuve, car 12 for Forsyth Green. Mario Andretti is into the pits, as is Parker Johnston. But the story here for Canadian fans, young Jacques Villeneuve pursued by Bobby Rahal and Scott Sharp.
Now he's lost his right front wing on Villeneuve's car, and it probably, you can see it right there. It doesn't look to me like there's any other damages. The left front wing looks all right. The right front wing is really bad.
I understand Mario is in the pits. Apparently Mario Andretti was hit by Jacques Villeneuve. On board with Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal currently running 14th. Tire on Andretti, tire on Andretti. So we talked about the tires on this course and how tough it is. There goes Mansell into 2nd place. Andretti is currently now 3rd. There goes Fabi, set to go by Mario Andretti. Let's stay with us. Fabi, the yellow car, and Fabi goes by Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti trying to get around to the pits and complete lap 20.
Now, most likely what's happened, he's had a flat tire. The tires don't blow out, just blow out. But remember, all the carbon fiber from Villeneuve's car has to be on the track. There's another one. There's Mario with another flat. Now, what's happened, they really should go yellow because there's carbon fiber, which is twice the strength of steel, half the weight of aluminum. Pieces are laying all over the track. There's Michael with the tire just coming apart now because it's been run flat. He's also making a traffic jam behind him at times.
Well, he was just passed by Adrian Fernandez. Michael Andretti is now dropped out of the top 10. Mario is back on course. Fernandez goes by, and into the pits comes Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti with that rear right tire, and there's more than the tire there, Bobby.
Well, what's happening is the tire's going around beating up the body. That's an aerodynamic part of the body you see just ahead of the right rear. He doesn't want to lose that. That all helps, you know.
Michael Andretti driving for Chip Ganassi. A Reynard chassis, a Ford Cosworth power plant. Michael Andretti will come back on the course. Here's a replay. There's where it happened. This is looking ahead to Andretti from Nigel Mansell.
And what I was trying to explain about the carbon fiber, that's the body work on these cars. Now, it's just like nails. Whenever it's laying on the ground, it'll puncture a tire just as good as a nail or a little piece of steel will. Because remember, it doesn't just fold up like cardboard.
The leader, Robbie Gordon, is about to lap Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti is now running 19th. So it's Robbie Gordon, followed by Nigel Mansell, Teo Fabi, Paul Tracy, and Scott Goodyear. Will return live to Vancouver right after this. Back live in Vancouver, there's the race leader, Robbie Gordon, as he's trying to lap Michael Andretti. Now, Andretti is now running in 21st place. There's the leader, car 9, Robbie Gordon. Bobby Unser, Michael Andretti there in the target car, trying to stop Gordon from going by him, and you say that is so very, very important.
Yes, because if there's a yellow right now, the red car, Michael Andretti, right there as Robbie Gordon just went by. If a yellow came out right now, Michael could go back around and be in the same lap. Even though technically he's in the same lap, he's a lap back, as we can see. So if he came back around, we know Michael is very fast. That would overcome the flat tire that he had.
Now remember, on a yellow, you cannot pass, but you can move up. There is Scott Goodyear running 5th, Johansson 6th, Al Unser Jr., car 40 is Scott Goodyear. There's Johansson, who is 6th. Al Unser Jr. is 7th. Fernandez is 8th. Emerson Fittipaldi is now 9th. The race leader, Robbie Gordon. Let me run down the top 10. It's Robbie Gordon, Nigel Mansell, Teo Fabi is 3rd, Paul Tracy is 4th, Scott Goodyear is 5th, Johansson is 6th, Al Unser Jr. is 7th, Adrian Fernandez is 8th, Emerson Fittipaldi is 9th, and the steady Bobby Rahal is 10th. There's Scott Goodyear. Goodyear running 5th, followed by Stefan Johansson. And I'm going to tell you something. Stefan Johansson right there in the Alumax car is doing one magnificent job, Bobby Unser. It's a backup car. He wrecked his regular car this morning. This car has not been on the track at all here in Vancouver until right now.
Well, and hats off to the mechanics. They really set that thing close the way the other one was. Now, we've watched all weekend. He's been very fast. He's still fast on this one. That's really the mechanics that did that. Nothing to do with Johansson. They set the spare car exactly like the other one, and it worked.
So
sometimes it doesn't.
Hats off, as I say, to that Johansson team. Very quickly, as we look at Paul Tracy pursuing Teo Fabi, let's go down to Sally Larpick.
And hats off to Barry Green's team, too. They brought Jacques Villeneuve in. They totally took off the nose cone and put on a new one. What happened in that accident, Barry?
Well, see, as far as I know, he got together, I think, with Mario. We were in the window. We still feel we can make it on one more stop, so we're looking pretty good, especially if we get a little bit of help from the yellow. I was real proud of the players' team there, just getting that nose changed and back on the racetrack. We're still in it.
Okay, Barry, they're still in, and I want to show you what they did, what they took off. This is what the nose cone looked like, and this is what sheared off the car as he came in. So they had to very quickly take that off. In about 15 seconds, they did it and replaced it with one just like that, and he's back out on the track.
All right, Sally, there are 19 cars on the same lap. There is Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve is running 23rd. He's right behind Bobby Rahal, but Villeneuve is a full lap down on the leader, Robbie Gordon.
It would take almost too much luck for Villeneuve to come up and be a winner right now. Down a full lap on a road course is really a hard thing to overcome. There's Rahal. I just wanted to mention the black and the gold car right ahead of Villeneuve is Rahal. That's in the Honda. Now, since he qualified with one engine, which is the faster of the Honda, but not as reliable. He's put a slower, what I think is a slower Honda in it for the race, but more reliable.
On board with Bobby Rahal. Rahal has had all kinds of problems for the past couple of years, but He was second, Bobby, in Toronto, and always seems to do well in this Vancouver course.
Well, he likes road courses. Ray Hall came from road course racing. They just don't have the Honda engine developed this year. If it makes any power, it seems to blow. If it doesn't blow, it doesn't have enough power. It's kind of like go catch 22 sometimes.
You just saw the leader, Robbie Gordon. There's Nigel Mansell running second in car number 1. He'll go back to Formula One next year. There is 25-year-old Robbie Gordon, born in Cerritos, California, now lives in Orange, California. His best born in Cerritos, California, now lives in Orange, California. His best Indy result, second last year in Mid-Ohio. Teo Fabi, that's how far third place is back. Fabi and Tracy are the third and fourth cars respectively, so they are a long way behind the top two, Robbie Gordon and Nigel Mansell.
These two have been having a dogfight since the start. Tracy's not going to let up on him, and I haven't seen Fabi going this fast. I know I keep mentioning it, but Fabi's always been a good race driver. They just haven't had that car going fast all year.
So Paul Tracy pursues Teo Fabi. Paul Tracy has a win in Detroit. Fabi, 39 years of age, born in Milan, Italy, and currently lives in Milan. It is Fabi now 11 seconds behind Mansell. Tracy is all over him as they come through the start-finish area to complete lap 28. Remember, they are running third and fourth, respectively.
In that sharp turn, there was no more than, I figure, 6 inches separating. Tracy was almost touching Fabi. But you got to get really close like that. So coming off, looking down in here, and that's the hairpin. This is where Tracy will probably try a pass, either there or... Let's see here. Right here is a passing place, but he didn't try it there.
Bobby Unser, Nigel Mansell is 1.14 seconds behind the race leader Gordon. Fabi is nearly 13 seconds back, and you see how close to Fabi Paul Tracy is running in fourth place. Teo Fabi drove in Formula One for Brabham, Coleman Hart, and Benetton in the mid-80s. Oh, and he locks the brakes as he comes into the final turn. Paul Tracy all over him. Now a great place to pass, remember, is at the end of the long Pacific straightaway. Tracy all over Fabi. Pacific Boulevard straightaway at 190 miles. Braking.
These are two different cars, same engine, so there really isn't much different. Fabi, when things are right, he's an ex-Formula One driver, a very good racer, runs a lot of years in IndyCar racing. He's really a good driver when the cars are right. Look at that right front locking up. Whoa. Now, he liked to let off the brakes and let that tire loosen up a little bit.
Kissing Teo Fabi into that corner. You know, Teo Fabi was the pole sitter for the 1983 Indianapolis 500. Look at this, Tracy right on him again.
Tracy is so close to him that if anything happens, he's going to bump him, and then we're going to see a little accident here. Because we'll just watch for that white nose on Tracy's car. When we start seeing marks on it, we know he was bumping Fabi.
But yesterday, Paul Tracy had an accident. Tracy will not go by.
That's what you call a fake pass. Tracy knew he wasn't going to be able to pass him there, but he's all over Fabi. If you notice, sometimes he works the outside of him, sometimes the inside. He wants to keep Fabi guessing, wear Fabi down and start Fabi to slow him down going into the turn, then he'll zap him with a pass.
Teo Fabi, 39 years of age. Paul Tracy, just 25. Teo Fabi's best ever IndyCar finish was fourth. He's been fourth twice this year, both times in the state of Michigan, at Detroit and in the Michigan 500.
And just so you know, when the cars almost touch like this in the slow turns, they're going very slow, so they get together real close. When they go fast like this, they separate. Down the long straightaway, they'll separate even more because, remember, again, it's feet per second that the cars go.
Teo Fabi with a fourth place finish, his best in IndyCar racing this year. He, of course, has 5 career victories, 4 way back in 1983 and 1 in 1989. Look how close Nigel Mansell is to race leader Robbie Gordon. Now, Sally Larvick, Bobby, reported on strategy. She said, look, Mansell's nothing wrong with the car. He just says it's going to be a long day, and I'm going to take my time.
Well, it's like I said earlier, Mansell is one of the smartest guy in the whole race. And it's no big issue to him right now. If he can stay this close to Robbie Gordon, what he'll do is if Gordon starts slacking off, he'll go up there and what we call keeping him honest, making him try harder, keep his car working, maybe make a mistake. Mansell is the smartest, I promise.
Now, let me ask you this. It also psychologically must put a lot of pressure on a youngster like Gordon to have Mansell all over him. We'll return live to Vancouver. Live in Vancouver, Teo Fabi has spun. He is out of this race. Paul Tracy's third. Here it is. There's Tracy car 3, and he passes Teo Fabi at the end of the straightaway on the hairpin. Now, Tracy at this point ahead of Teo Fabi. Here's where the problem occurs. Fabi tries to go by Tracy.
He did, and that's going into the chicane. Remember, Tracy just passed him the one turn before. Bobby goes into the chicane, went in too deep, took his front end, bumped Tracy's left rear tire, lost his wing, and in doing so, spun himself out. But the worst part of it is he killed his engine. Now everybody's in for pit stops. Now there's Robbie Gordon coming in, but it certainly ended the fight between Fabi and Tracy, which has really been a good race so far.
Now Bobby is a 3-time Indy 500 champion under a full course yellow. Gordon is back out. There's Paul Tracy. Whose fault was that when Fabi went out of the race in the replay we just saw? Was it Fabi's or Tracy's?
No, it was Fabi's fault. He was attempting to pass, and he just, going into the chicane is a difficult place to do it. He was on the outside, which is really worse yet. There was nothing to do when he got there. He just drove it in too deep. It was all his fault.
Now, this is a long pit stop. Let's go down to Ken Daniels.
Well, I wanted to hear what Bobby said about Fabi, and I couldn't hear it.
All right, Kenny, what he was saying about Teo Fabi was that it was Fabi's fault trying to go by
Donnie, you gotta wait
Tracy. So we're having a little audio problems with Kenny Daniels down in the pits. There is Teo Fabi's car. We're under a full course yellow with 33 of 102 laps completed here in Vancouver. There's the leader, Robbie Gordon, followed by Nigel Mansell, Adrian Fernandez, Bobby Rahal, Mark Smith, Scott Goodyear, and Stefan Johansson.
Bobby Rahal and the Miller Genuine Draft Championship Racing Team at the Molson Indy Vancouver, September 2nd, 3rd, 4th. This year, we're really flying.
Most car manufacturers build their prototypes by hand, but we built the all-new Lumina prototypes on a prototype assembly line. We put it together, took it apart, then redesigned it so we could make it better when it went to production. It took us 18 months. But one thing's certain. There's quality in the build. Something we don't charge extra for. Guess that's what makes it a genuine Chevrolet.
With Bobby Unser, Sally Larvick, and Ken Daniels. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to Vancouver under a full course yellow in a good race so far today with 34 of 102 laps complete. It's Robbie Gordon leading Nigel Mansell. Al Unser Jr. is now third. Scott Goodyear fourth. Stefan Johansson fifth. Fernandez is sixth. Fittipaldi is seventh. And Paul Tracy, with that long pit stop, is now standing in 8th place. There is the Teo Fabi car. We have those replays again, Bobby, and I think it's important for you to explain first the Tracy pass, then the accident.
Here's Tracy coming underneath this end of the long straightaway. I'm sorry. He passes him a good clean pass going right into the hairpin where most of the passing happened. Now Fabi comes back. He tries to go in there deeper than Tracy. He hit Paul Tracy. Not Paul's fault, but Fabi right there in the yellow car's fault. Took his wing. We saw it being changed in the pits, but he also killed his engine. Here it is with a new wing on it in the pits, leaving now. So it was an unfortunate thing, but totally Fabi, who's very aggressive today, his fault.
Now, Paul Tracy has dropped down to 8th place. He had a long pit stop. Obviously, some concern about the condition of the chassis on his Penske car as Teo Fabi will now try and catch up to the field. Remember, under a full course yellow, you can close up, but you cannot pass. The leader is Robbie Gordon. Car 1 is Nigel Mansell. Al Unser Jr., car 31 is 3rd. Car 40 is Scott Goodyear, he's 5th. Followed by Johansson, Fernandez, Emerson Fittipaldi in the Marlboro car. There's Bobby Rahal. So Bobby Rahal's in the top 10.
Yes, he is. But the guys that we want to be watching right now, right after it goes green here, is going to be, for example, Mansell. Now, of course, Robbie Gordon is leading the race, but Mansell, he's volatile as heck. And who's right behind there? Little Al. The guy's won most of the races this year.
I was asking you, going to commercial, there's Adrian Fernandez, followed by the Penske cars of Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy. I was asking you as we went to commercial, psychologically, Mansell saying to himself, look, there's Gordon, car 9. Here's car number 1, Mansell. He's saying to himself, look, I'm a former Formula 1 champion. I've won the IndyCar series. Gordon's got to be a little scared, and Mansell's probably playing a game with him. Gordon's, you know, constantly wondering, what's he going to do?
You know, Robbie Gordon is obviously intimidated by Mansell. He would intimidate most people, but by the same token, Robbie Gordon right there in the 9th car, he really wants badly to win his first race. Once you win your first one, the others become easier because you realize then that you can do it. Now, they've been on the pole, both at Toronto and here, so we know he's fast.
Well, speaking of fast, while all that confusion was going on, Al Unser Jr. has moved up into 3rd place. So it's Robbie Gordon, Nigel Mansell, Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear is 4th, Johansson is 5th. And as they come around under a full course yellow to complete lap 36, the green flag is out, and they are racing again in Vancouver. It's Robbie Gordon, Nigel Mansell, Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, Stefan Johansson, Adrian Fernandez, Emerson Fittipaldi, Paul Tracy, Bobby Rahal, and Michael Andretti has moved up to 10th place. Michael Andretti has done a masterful job moving up to 10th. There is, going through right now, Johansson. Johansson is 5th behind Scott Goodyear. And what's happened, folks, is so many of these cars, there's Mansell, he's followed by Villeneuve, but Villeneuve is more than a lap down in 18th place. So many of these cars have now been lapped by the top group of cars.
Yes, and they cause traffic problems sometimes, though. They cause the traffic problem enough to where they enable the car behind the guy to pass because it gets blocked. That's what we want to watch for when you get traffic like this.
Nigel Mansell is car number 1. Mansell running 2nd to Robbie Gordon. And into the pits comes the race leader, Robbie Gordon.
Now this has got to be unscheduled. Let's look and see what the problem is there.
May have been a penalty, or he may have just gone wide on the turn. I think that's what would have happened.
All right, what happened? You were right. What happened is he got into that turn too deep. He couldn't make it. Remember, Mansell intimidates people. He intimidated him.
So Gordon, as we look at him, is now running 3rd. Nigel Mansell is the race leader. Al Unser Jr. is 2nd. Gordon is 3rd. Goodyear is 4th. Johansson is 5th. What a race in Vancouver.
What a mistake by Robbie Gordon, though. Remember, when he went into that turn, again to explain to the people, it's also the route to the pits. So what he did is he couldn't get in there, couldn't make the turn, going too fast, so he just went a little bit further around, went through the pits. There is a speed limit through the pits. I think it's 80 miles an hour today, so therefore it's a loss for Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon is falling back even further now. He's going into the pits again, and this time there must be something seriously wrong. Is Sally Larvick down there? Sally?
Yes, I am, Brian, and what Robbie did is he punctured a tire, and so they're bringing him in to change the tire, and he had radioed earlier that he just lost in the car, in the corner. As you can see, they brought him in. They're changing all 4 tires, taking the opportunity to refill the fuel tank, and Robbie is waiting patiently as the car comes down off the jacks, and Robbie Gordon is off again. So a very disappointing time for this Walker team.
Disappointing indeed, Sally, but we were right on, Bobby. He simply misread that final corner, came through the pits. That time, though, he had a punctured rear right tire.
Yeah, so Lady Luck just bit him. That's all there was to it. The boy's done such a fabulous job in setting on the pole, leading the race. Didn't make a mistake. Had nothing to do with his flat tire, though.
The leader, car number 1, is Nigel Mansell. Robbie Gordon is 17th. Al Unser Jr. has moved up to 2nd. Look out! Scott Goodyear is 3rd. Johansson is 4th. And Adrian Fernandez is now running 5th. There, car number 1. There is car 31, 2nd, Al Unser Jr. So there are a couple of the back markers. One of them, Mario Andretti, between the leader, Nigel Mansell, and car 31, Al Unser Jr., who's running 2nd. Al Unser Jr. missed qualifying on Friday with food poisoning, has done a masterful job here this afternoon.
Now that's the one guy that Mansell would just as soon not see back there, because we figured the little Al, being tired, being sick as the way he was, that he's going to have to pace himself during the race. And so if he keeps moving up the way it is, the way he has been, it means he has been pacing himself. He's certainly the guy that Mansell would be worrying about the most.
Mike Dennis just handed me a note. Michael Andretti has now moved up to 6th place. Remember, Michael Andretti was running so well, had the shredded tire, so a magnificent job of driving by Michael Andretti. It's Nigel Mansell, the leader, followed by Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, Johansson, and Fernandez.
Tires are important for performance, handling, even safety. So we wanted special tires for our new Lumina LS. And we had some tire companies help out. Several designs later, we had new tires developed for just one car, ours. Now you might expect special tires on sports cars or luxury cars, but putting them on a car most people can afford, well, that makes the all-new Lumina LS a genuine Chevrolet.
In the last 100 years, much has happened to Canada and to Canadians. For each of us, the story is different. 13 Canadians share their lives with you. Our stories, living snapshots of history. Tuesday nights at 7 on CBC.
Back in Vancouver, car 40 is Scott Goodyear, pursued by Stefan Johansson. They are running 3rd and 4th behind Nigel Mansell and Al Unser Jr. Scott Goodyear has moved up. He qualified 4th. He's been running a steady race. Johansson driving a great race, and credit to his crew for getting the backup car ready. Johansson dinged his regular car this morning.
Johansson's been on a hot streak this whole weekend. You know, with his other car before he wrecked it this morning, he was really fast all the time, and his spare car, he's fast today. He's aggressive.
All right, for the latest on Robbie Gordon, Sally Larbick, what's the word?
And the question is, Brian, can Robbie Gordon recoup after the punctured tire and the spin? Derek Walker, can you get back on track again? You're out of sequence now with all your pit stops.
Well, we're out of sequence with the leaders. We're out of sequence with the leaders, but we're still on the lead lap, so it's not over yet, but it's obviously pretty tough to fight back from 17th place as we are now.
Now, when Robbie lost it in the corner, was that because of his tire, or did the puncture come afterwards?
We think so. He just didn't feel right going into the corner, and he just couldn't make the corner, so, and then the next lap the tire was going down, so it looks like we picked up something.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Brian?
That's Claude Bourbonnais in car number 30. Bourbonnais has spun and was not running a bad race. He's standing 16th.
Now what happened is he got into the turn a little bit too deep. He was just about to hit. Whoa, boy, he just almost hit Mike Groff there. Locked up his rear tires. His brake balance is off just a little bit. He had too much brakes on the rear and not enough on the front. The drivers can adjust this on the racetrack while they're racing. So he just didn't have his adjusted properly.
Well, it's an amazing story. Michael Andretti just went through in 5th place through that corner. Oh my, Michael Andretti, driving a magnificent race here in Vancouver, has now moved up to 5th place behind Mansell, Al Unser Jr., Goodyear, and that man Johansson. There is Goodyear. There's Johansson. There is Michael Andretti, who owns Vancouver. 2 victories and 3 pole positions in 4 previous races.
And remember, Andretti is only back there because he had a flat tire, something that he couldn't avoid in any way in the world. But he's coming back. His car's been good this race.
His car has been good indeed. On board with Michael Andretti, a winner in Australia and Toronto. On to the straightaway at Pacific Boulevard, up to 190 miles an hour. Michael Andretti, the overall Indy champion in 1991, unsuccessful last year in Formula One with McLaren, passes some of the back markers under braking, and he goes by Johansson. Oh my, Michael Andretti is into 4th place.
That was a good pass. Boy, he figured that thing out a long time ahead. Johansson didn't see him coming. He should have, but he didn't, and he zapped him right down at the end of the long straightaway. Good pass. There's Scott Goodyear. Michael's going to be working on him now. There's a 3-car battle that's really been a good one.
Oh my, so it's now Nigel Mansell, Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, Michael Andretti, and Stefan Johansson, the top 5. There, now he's passing Goodyear. Michael Andretti has just gone by Scott Goodyear into 3rd place. What a day for Michael Andretti.
That's where we don't really see any passing. We haven't seen any. That's it. Josh coming into the pit straight away where we are, and we haven't really seen any passing there today. So Michael is really handling good.
Here's the pass on Johansson.
He's coming down. He's got Johansson blocked already. This is bad. Johansson just hit something. Look at his left front tire. Wheel, he hit the wall. He's all bent. He's definitely out of the race.
Now, we had to interrupt that replay to come back live, so Johansson was, he's bitterly disappointed as he throws the wheel away, rips off the hoses, rips off the seatbelts. He was running 5th behind Mansell, Al Jr., Michael Andretti, and Scott Goodyear. What happened here, Bobby?
He's right behind. He's got his tires lit up his fronts. He got in there too deep. He can't do anything about it. Slides out and kerboom, he hits the wall.
Scott Goodyear was very lucky that he didn't hit him.
Well, Johansson did a good job and thought about that because he had a choice.
All right, here's the pass again. Andretti on Johansson.
Yeah, and here comes Andretti on the inside. Johansson just wasn't ready for it. He comes to the inside. Now, Michael almost got Michael in it, or excuse me, Scott Goodyear in front of him there also. Then he comes around. This is coming into this turn just before where we are. He comes inside like this, totally blocks Goodyear. Goodyear, who starts in the turn, has no way to go because Michael is already there.
There is a bitterly disappointed Stefan Johansson. He drove for 9 different Formula One teams. And speaking of Formula One, race leader Nigel Mansell is car number 1, a former Formula One champion. He'll return to F1 in 1995. Mansell, the race leader, crosses the start-finish line. Al Unser Jr. is running 2nd and is now, let's see, 5.58 seconds behind Nigel Mansell. Sally Larbitt?
Okay, I'm down with Chip Ganassi, and just a little while ago, Chip was jumping up and down as Michael went into 3rd place. So he loves this track in Vancouver, and Vancouver apparently loves him. The car's working well, Chip.
I don't think there's any question, Sally. Our car's working really well right now. I'd have to say we're on target where we want to be. We're a little bit out of sync on our pit stops. We're going to need some help with the yellow here to to get back on sync with the leaders right now.
Do you think you may have to make an extra pit stop because of fuel? Is that how bad you are with the fuel?
No, I don't think we'll have to make an extra stop, but right now I think we're gonna have to hope we get a yellow falls our way as opposed to their way.
Okay, they're keeping their fingers crossed, Brian.
All right, on board with Michael Andretti, who is all over Al Unser Jr., who's running 2nd. That's Unser Jr. right in front of Michael Andretti, and he passes him right where he got Scott Goodyear.
Yes, absolutely. Michael is out handling everybody. It's woke little Al up. He's probably wondering what in the world is going on, but now Mansell is going to see it in his mirrors, and he's going to say, wow, when you start passing on that turn, you're really working good. So let's keep watching Michael.
Well, now he's going to reel in Nigel Mansell. Bobby Unser, you've seen so many races. Have you ever seen driving like Michael Andretti has shown us here this afternoon?
Occasionally. You know that we have a lot of good drivers in the race today. But but occasionally one gets his car working better than the others do. And then he really goes. Now, Michael has done that several times this year. Some of the times this year, he's what we call carry the car. He's been better than the car. Today, he absolutely has a good car, and that's probably because of Mo Nunn, the engineer that's there. Now what guy? Little Al goes out to get in, and he just goes underneath and blocks Little Al, leaves him no way to get down. Little Al tries to come over here to the right and shoot past him, but Michael is already there.
Now Al Unser Jr. is all over Michael Andretti, as we'll take one. Whoa, look at this. This is a replay of Michael Andretti bumping Mario, his father, who is well back in the field. Mario Andretti is running back in 18th position. So Mario and Michael nearly combined to put this car, the target car, Michael Andretti, out of the race. Car 31 is Al Unser Jr., who's third. Bobby?
I guess there's no son-father respect going on today is all I could tell you.
Well, I tell you what, it's been an exciting afternoon here in Vancouver. They've completed 49 out of 102 scheduled laps. It's Nigel Mansell now leading by 11 seconds over Michael Andretti. Live coverage of the Vancouver Indy will continue right after this. Back live in Vancouver, a tough afternoon for Derek Walker, Bobby Unser, because this is car 24, Walker Racing's car, driven by Willie T. Ribbs. Let's see what happens to Willie T.
He comes in, obviously locked up his rear brakes again, like some of the other guys, goes sideways, and then he plugs it right into the wall. Now, I'm not too sure that he hit the wall, but he did kill his engine. That's worse yet, because he can't put it into the reverse. The cars do have reverse in them, and he can't back up, so he's just going to sit there and lose time. Really hurt. Now, it's going to be a full course yellow. This is what Michael Andretti needed. Remember what Chip Ganassi said? He needs a yellow. This changes the whole personality. Every time you have a full course, you have to start figuring your pit stops again.
Now, what was happening there was the pace car, it will hold going to commercial for just a minute. The pace car was looking for car number 1, the leader, Nigel Mansell, as they're under a full course yellow, and the pace car wanted to get in front of this guy, Mansell. There's the pace car, waiting, waves Villeneuve by. Now, they're in order. The pace car ahead of the race leader, Nigel Mansell. We're under a full course yellow on a very entertaining afternoon in Vancouver. Michael Andretti's in the pits. And back live in Vancouver, the Walker Racing car driven by Willie T. Ribbs, car 24, a Lola with a Ford Cosworth engine. But the big story, as we went to commercial, under the full course yellow, you saw Michael Andretti in the pits. Michael is back on the race course, but is now in 12th place. So it's Nigel Mansell under a full course yellow leading. Al Unser Jr. is now second. Scott Goodyear is running third. Adrian Fernandez is fourth. Emerson Fittipaldi is running fifth. Paul Tracy is sixth. Bobby Rahal is seventh. Ari Leyendijk is eighth. Gugelman is ninth. There is Jacques Villeneuve way back in the field in 16th place, and he'll drop back further as he comes into the pits. But rounding out the rest of the top 10, it's Raul Boesel 10th.
Villeneuve's got fire in the right rear. Look at the fire. There's Billy Camphausen, IndyCar man, trying to put the fire out around the brakes. He's got something, too much brake temperature probably caused something to set on fire. I started to mention the big story right now is going to be the fact that Michael Andretti, who is in third place, is back in sequence on his fuel. So he's the guy that they're going to be worrying about right now.
Now, more important to be back in sequence on your fuel as we look at the leader, Nigel Mansell, under a full course yellow, and you know, he's back in sequence on his fuel, but he's down in 12th place. More important to be in 12th and in sequence on your fuel, or in third and not in sequence on your fuel?
Oh, he'd be better off where he is, because it was going to be down a lap is what he was looking at. Now, if he were to he's going to pass these cars that he's behind, a lot of them. And then if he were to have another yellow, we've already seen he's the fastest car on the track.
Well, it's a rough afternoon for Jacques Villeneuve. He appears through for the day. Let's check in with Sally Lerman.
Okay, when that yellow happened, we expected Nigel Mansell to come into the pits just like Michael Andretti did. In fact, Michael needed that yellow, he told us early, but Nigel elected to stay out. The team elected to stay out, asking him why. They said it was much too soon for him to come in, and they expect him to make a pit stop at lap 75. So there's a lot of strategy being played down here in the pits, and they said many times on these street courses, the race is won, not on the track, but in the pits, and that may be the case today, Brian.
And by strategy, Sally, that's the way it is, because now when you've had as many things have happened in this very exciting race, strategy is the things that make the difference, not necessarily the racing or the pit stops alone.
Now they'll be racing. They should get a green after this lap. They've completed 54 out of 102 laps. Jacques Villeneuve is through for the day. Let's very quickly show you the driver standings coming into Vancouver. Race 13 on the 16 race schedule. Now, you see a 40-point difference between Al Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi. I would say down through Robbie Gordon, still with a mathematical chance of winning it. You could get 22 points a race, a point for being on the pole, a point for leading the most laps, and 20 points for winning. So Unser Jr., though, right now is running second, and if Al Unser Jr., who is the runaway leader, can stay in second place, it wouldn't wrap up the title, but it would set the stage for doing it at the next stop.
Which is exactly what winning the title is so important. Is exactly what they want to do. But if you'll notice, Emerson Fittipaldi hasn't been setting any records today. What he's doing, he's trying to get an insurance on points. It's so close to the end of the season.
Al Unser Jr. is second. Fittipaldi is running fifth. As the pace car is off, they'll be racing. There's car one, the leader, Nigel Mansell, and right on his tail is Al Unser Jr., who has moved up under the full course yellow. You can move up, but you cannot pass. Now look at how close they are. What a race we should have here for the lead. The green flag is out through 55 laps in Vancouver. It's Nigel Mansell, followed by Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, Adrian Fernandez, and Emerson Fittipaldi.
Now, it doesn't look like there's going to be an awful lot of passing going down the first turn. They were separated pretty good at the start that time, but not by choice. The guys that are leading just not giving the guys behind any edge at all.
On board with Adrian Fernandez, who's running fourth, looking ahead to Scott Goodyear, who's running a very strong race in third place.
That's the first chicane. That gives you a good bird's eye view of what it looks like to drive going into the chicane.
Fittipaldi just ahead of Paul Tracy. They are running fifth and sixth respectively. What a day for Roger Penske at the top of the show. As Tracy is all over Fittipaldi, we thought the Penske domination might end in Vancouver, but Al Unser Jr. has been brilliant. Looking ahead from Bobby Rahaal's car as he makes a move on Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy up right there. Boy, that onboard camera shot is just awesome.
Shot. On board with Bobby Rahal. There's Tracy, who's ahead of Fittipaldi. There's Rahal. No! Tracy spins. Paul Tracy is spun.
Too much rear brake. So much that we've seen right at the end of the long straightaway so many times that we've seen Paul Tracy make these mistakes when he's really going good. Look how excited he is. He killed his engine too. That's even worse yet. Watch this now. Replay of it coming in. Tracy's got too much rear brake, something he has control over. Spins the car totally around, didn't hit anything. The problem is his engine is dead. He didn't get the clutch in soon enough, but they got him running.
All right, Paul Tracy is running again. He's dropped out of the top 10. It's Nigel Mansell leading. Al Unser Jr. is second. Scott Goodyear is third. Fernandez is fourth. Fittipaldi is fifth. Rahal is now sixth. Bobby Rahal is all over Emerson Fittipaldi. Remember, Rahal has had trouble with Honda, but he was second in Toronto and runs well here in Vancouver.
And all year he's had his chassis handling better than most of them, but he's not had a lot of power with the Honda because it's a development engine, the Honda is, not really a racing engine yet.
Emerson Fittipaldi running fifth, pursued by Bobby Rahal. And we saw Michael Andretti, a little bit of a bump here. And the tow truck will be back out. That is car 17, Dominic Dobson. And going around him is Ari Leyendyk. So Dobson with the Vancouver Grizzlies. I don't know if we can see that on the camera just to the left of number 17, but that's the emblem of the new NBA team here in Vancouver. Car 17, PacWest Racing's Dominic Dobson is out of this race.
He was the victim because one of the other cars of which I couldn't see the number
was Ari Leyendyk, Bobby.
Okay, well, he got up on top, he hit him, got up on top of him. It was piggyback for a while, which is really kind of dangerous.
There's Emerson Fittipaldi, and he is being pursued by Ari Lyondike, who has moved into 6th place. So let me give you the top 6. Mansell, Al Jr., Goodyear, Fernandez, Fittipaldi, and Lyondike. Michael Andretti is now 7th, and let's go down to Cellular.
And with Jacques Villeneuve, who is waiting patiently. As you mentioned earlier, his front wing came off. They had to replace it, and then you had another problem. Jacques, what was that?
Well, at the end, the engine blew. It's sad because the team did a great job the whole weekend. We had a really strong race car, and we could do some good lap times and run with the leaders. And at that point, we had managed to get our lap back. And with the yellow, that would have put us at the back of the pack. So we still had a good chance to make a few positions in the race.
Tell us about the accident with Mario. What was the contact that happened there?
There was a lot of traffic going into the last corner because Marco Greco was slowing everybody down. And I went on the outside, and when we accelerated out of the corner, I just touched my wing on Mario's rear wheel, and that broke it.
Just a racing accident then?
Excuse me?
Just a racing accident then. Thank you very much, Jacques Villeneuve. Brian?
All right, Sally, we're under a full course yellow. Here's a replay on board with Bobby Rahal as Rahal watching Tracy spin. What a great shot. That's Fittipaldi on the right. That's how you see it from Rahal's course or car as Paul Tracy spun under a full course yellow. Paul Tracy is now running in 13th place. Here's that crash again. Dominic Dobson. Well, Dobson,
that's Vassar that got up on top of him. Jimmy Vassar is the one that's up on top of 17. I finally was able to see the thing because the cars look so much alike in certain places.
But you know, it wasn't Jimmy Vassar's fault. It seemed that Eddie Cheever, driving for A.J. Foyt, actually hit Vassar and knocked Vassar into Dominic Dobson under a full course yellow.
Absolutely right.
And we check in with Ken Daniels. Wild day.
It has been a wild day, Brian, and when Paul Tracy was out there just before, he had radioed in that he was having problems with his tires, and that in part was the reason for the spin. Perhaps they were just cold, didn't change tires when he just came in. Just took on a little bit more fuel. Brian?
All right, Ken, under a full course yellow, the race leader is Nigel Mansell. Scott Goodyear is now 2nd. Adrian Fernandez, that's the Ducati car, is now running 3rd. Goodyear is now Fernandez is 2nd as the computer updates it. Lyondike is 3rd, and now with the computer updating it, and that's why Scott Goodyear dropped down. He was into the pits. Michael Andretti's strategy is certainly paying off, but Scott Goodyear into the pits. He was running 2nd, so as he comes back out to the race under a full course yellow, Scott Goodyear is now in 12th place. So it's Nigel Mansell, the leader, followed by Adrian Fernandez, Ari Lyondike, Michael Andretti is 4th. Al Unser Jr. is 5th. Emerson Fittipaldi is 6th. There is Scott Goodyear, and he is back in the 12th place. Bobby Rahal is 7th. Raul Boesel is 8th. Robbie Gordon has moved up to 9th. Bobby Unser and Gugelmin rounds out the top 10.
I started to say Scott Goodyear killed his engine during his pit stop. That was a very, very costly mistake. Looks like we've seen a lot of those today. Drivers that have done so good and yet make so many mistakes at weird times. Paul Tracy, Scott Goodyear, very different ones.
Hey, you know what, my friend? We've worked a lot together over the years. I can never remember a race with this many lead changes.
This much excitement. I mean, the game plans for each team has changed so many times during the course of this race so far.
Now, Fernandez and Lyondike, there's Fernandez, there's Lyondike, there's Michael Andretti. They have yet to pit, so the strategy becoming very, very interesting. They've completed 60, now about to complete 61 out of 102 laps, and they're still under the full course yellow. They'll have one more lap under the full course yellow. Into the pits comes Mario Andretti, who is currently running 14th.
And you look at little Al in 5th place. He was in 2nd now. He got clear back to 5th. So, and you look at Fernandez and Lyondike, two guys that we normally would not expect to be running 2nd and 3rd. We've really got a different and an exciting race going on.
Well, a great story is Adrian Fernandez from Mexico City. Adrian Fernandez, now there's Mario Andretti back on the course, but Adrian Fernandez running 2nd, driving for Rick Gallis, a Reynard chassis with Gilmore power. Raul Boesel comes through. now on board with the race leader, Nigel Mansell. They'll be racing this time around as he looks ahead to the pace car. It's Mansell, followed by the rookie Fernandez, the 1990 Indy 500 champion Ari Luyendyk, Michael Andretti fourth, Al Unser Jr. fifth, Fittipaldi is sixth.
You can look at the pace car like Mansell can. Well, as long as the lights are on, it's going to stay yellow. When they turn out those lights, it means it's going to be green the next time by. That's something on our onboard camera that you can see.
More than halfway through the race in Vancouver. There is the leader, Mansell. The Tecate car is the Mexican rookie, Adrian Fernandez. There's Michael Andretti. Al Unser Jr. coming through. Car 31, Ari Luyendyk there, just ahead of Michael Andretti. He is car 28 and running third as they prepare to come around to the start-finish area. They'll get the green flag, and as they come through,
here's the last turn just before the start-finish line.
As they come through, we look for the green flag. There it is, racing again in Vancouver. Mansell opens up a bit of a gap between himself and the second place car of Adrian Fernandez.
That's experience. Fernandez just wasn't ready for it. He usually isn't this far up in the field. Mansell got a big jump on him. It's just one of those things, the difference between experience and not enough experience.
Al Unser Jr. going by one of the back markers. That was Claude Gourmanet, who's running 22nd. Al Unser Jr. in 5th place. Remember, this late in the race, so many of the cars on different laps. Al Unser Jr. Car 2 is Emerson Fittipaldi. He is 6th behind Al Unser Jr. So Penske with 2 cars in the top 10. Paul Tracy is way down after spinning in 11th place. Tracy had been right near the top. On board with Bobby Rahal as he pursues Emerson Fittipaldi for 6th place.
Well, if he's ever going to have a problem with that Honda engine, it's going to be today because he's working it hard.
Bobby Rahal into the start-finish area. Rahal running 7th. Just in front of him is Emerson Fittipaldi. There is Paul Tracy. He had a shot at car 3. He is now running 11th. And a very, very exciting race here in Vancouver this afternoon. As they come through the hairpin, there's Paul Tracy, car 3. He's running 11th, and right behind him you saw car 40. That's Scott Goodyear, who is now 12th. Adrian Fernandez running 2nd, Bobby, 29 years of age, born in Mexico City, lives in San Diego, and his best ever IndyCar finish, 6th this year at Mid-Ohio.
That's the Gallus car, the one from Albuquerque, where I'm from. That's the one that little Al drove for so many years for Rick Gallus. Adrian Fernandez, I've been watching every race this year. He's been getting a little bit better. He's a very nice, very bright young lad. Really going to be a good race driver in some time here.
Michael Andretti is running 5th and into the pits. He will drop down. Already unscheduled. He's out of the top 10. So Michael Andretti, who's had a roller coaster afternoon, is in the pits in Vancouver. It's Nigel Mansell, followed by Adrian Fernandez, Ari Luyendyk. Michael Andretti now drops down out of the top 10. Sally Larvick and Ken Daniels. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to Vancouver. We look back from the 2nd place car of Adrian Fernandez to Ari Luyendyk, who's 3rd. Mansell's the leader. Bobby Unser, we get the breakup from the satellite as the camera goes under the overpasses, but let's stay with this shot through this start-finish area and onto Pacific Boulevard. These two are an amazing story. Young Fernandez and the veteran Luyendyk.
Yes, and you know, Luyendyk, honest to goodness, other than Indianapolis, has not gone fast, in my opinion, all year long. That's him right behind. Look at him run up on Fernandez there. And today, he's really hot. Now, very often, what we call this is contract sign. It's at the end of the year. They drive, boy, look at Rahal going up along.
Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi's 5th, now looking ahead from Rahal, who's 6th. There you see Rahal trying to make a move on the 5th place car of Emerson Fittipaldi. We can't keep track of all these lead changes. Sally Larvick, down to you.
Okay, we're looking at the tires right now, and that's what they took off when Michael Andretti came into the pits. They thought they had a tire going down, and that's why they brought him in. I just talked to the Goodyear engineer, however, and they said the tires were fine. So whether Michael felt it or they actually saw it, they brought him in anyway, and it could be a really bad mistake for Michael Andretti.
Well, that was one of the front tires, and if a front tire feels like it's bad, the driver has to come in because there's no room between hitting the wall.
On board with Bobby Rahal, looking ahead to Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi is 5th. Rahal is 6th. This is one of the great shots in motor racing at 190 miles an hour. You get the driver's perspective as they gear down. Great place to pass, but he can't catch it.
Well, he gets up to him, gets pretty close, but, you know, Rahal just needs a little horsepower, probably about 40 or 50 horsepower. He'd be one tough motor scooter.
Well, I mentioned all the changes, and I said we can't keep up. We, of course, have kept up with all the changes here today on a wild afternoon in Vancouver. Like Dennis here in the booth, our directors Jim Marshall, Chris Elias, our producer Doug Sellers. Just an outstanding job as they have stayed on top of every story here on Vancouver. As you look ahead from Bobby Rahal's car to car 2, Emerson Fittipaldi, let's go down to Ken Daniels.
Well, Brian, Scott Goodyear's crew questioning what they did. They came in on 1 yellow when too many cars passed. Now they're thinking they probably should have come in earlier, and they still have some fuel left. So they would need another yellow is what the Goodyear team is thinking. So it doesn't look good right now for Scott Goodyear. Brian?
All right, Kenny, Scott Goodyear. There is Emerson Fittipaldi as we look ahead to Fittipaldi from Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear, who qualified 4th, is now running 10th. Raul Boisel running 11th is into the pits.
Yeah, the Duracell car, that doesn't look like a scheduled pit stop to me. He's coming in kind of slow, and he's certainly out of sequence, so let's see what they do to this car. They're working on it. That isn't fuel. That's working on, so he's got problems. I started to mention a little bit ago, sorry to interrupt you, Brian, but Bobby Rahal, right there in the blue and gold car, or the black and gold car, he's going to be changing. He's leaving Honda. We all are glad that Honda's here, but he's had too many problems. It's kind of made him uncompetitive all season. He's going to go to something else, probably an Ilmore engine next year.
There's car 17
Dominic
in trouble.
Dobson.
That's Dobson. We saw him earlier in the Pac West racing car. Lola with a Ford Cosworth engine. Here's what happens. Whoa, and I'll tell you what, Lyondike, that's how you drive rental cars, Bobby Unser. Lyondike nearly nailed by him.
Look at that. There goes the wings flying off at Dominic's car.
He hit car 15. That's Mark Smith. Oh, what a day for poor old Derek Walker. Robbie Gordon was leading, made a costly mistake. Willie T. Ribbs had an accident. And now car 15, Mark Smith, has some damage to his vehicle. They've now completed 70 out of 102 laps. There is the leader, Nigel Mansell. There's the second place car of the Mexican rookie, Adrian Fernandez.
Adrian is really, really doing good. Remember, Mansell, he is one tough racer. He's got this race going his way. He normally doesn't make very many mistakes unless somebody's pushing him really hard. It's about the only time I've ever seen him make mistakes. And nobody's pushing him that hard right now.
That's car 28, Ari Lyondike, who is 3rd. You know, Lyondike's an amazing story. You say he's never done anything really except at the Indy 500, which is true. But Lyondike's had trouble getting a ride, and he is putting a show on here today. Car 2 is Fittipaldi, who's 5th, followed by Bobby Rahal, who is 6th.
You know, unfortunately, with drivers today, and as competitive as IndyCar racing is, you have to go fast the first race, you have to go fast in between, and then you have to go fast the last race. Some of the drivers like Lyondike don't put a lot of emphasis in their racing until the latter part of the season when it's contract time. Although Lyondike is known as one of the finest drivers in Indianapolis, he's more like a specialist there.
Down through the start-finish area, there's BC Place Stadium on board. The nose cam on Bobby Rahal's car. That's Emerson Fittipaldi, who's 5th. In front of him on the Pacific Boulevard, the fastest portion of this road course. Now gearing down into turn 3. The hairpin, great place to pass. Rahal not close enough to Fittipaldi this time.
He can get there, but he can't do anything when he does get there.
And you're just joining us. It's Nigel Mansell, Adrian Fernandez, Ari Lyondike 3rd, Al Unser Jr. 4th. We're looking at the 5th and 6th place cars of Emerson Fittipaldi and Bobby Rahal. Robbie Gordon is up to 7th. Gugelman is 8th. Paul Tracy back up to 9th. Scott Goodyear is 10th. Michael Andretti is running 11th.
You can watch Bobby Rahal just pull right up on Emo sometimes in the turns, but of course the straightaway, Emo just like a rocket. He just takes off and leaves him. It gets discouraging, but Rahal, good, and he's stubborn.
Good, exciting race in Vancouver. Live coverage of the 1994 Molson Indy Vancouver will continue right after this. Live in Vancouver, Emerson Fittipaldi, car number 2 is 5th. Bobby Rahal right behind him is 6th. There's the race leader, car number 1, Nigel Mansell. Now, Lyondike is 4 seconds, or Fernandez rather, 4 seconds behind Mansell, and Lyondike is right behind Fernandez. As we look at the leader, Nigel Mansell, the top 3 cars, Peter Dunn says, have only pitted once, Bobby. So with 73 laps complete of a 102-lap race, this finish could be most interesting.
And what they're all looking for, of course, is the yellow. It'd be a lot better stop on the yellow. Or, for example, if some of the guys get a yellow and the other guys pit under green, there's Lyondike in. Now, he's under green right now because the track is green. So if he were to, let's go down to Kenny Daniels, who's there right now.
Yeah, Harry Lyondike is in. They're taking on full fuel, and they didn't want to wait for a yellow, obviously. This was their chance, and Harry Lyondike is away with team owner Sal Incandela. But Sal, the key for Harry coming in now and not waiting for a yellow. You couldn't chance maybe not getting one?
No, well, this car stopped on the track, and we anticipated there's going to be a yellow, but it's not. But we were due to come in the next lap anyway, so it's okay.
Sal Incandela, Brian. All
right, the target car is Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti continues to move up in this field. Michael Andretti now running 11th. Ari Lyondike is running 10th with that pit stop.
Brian, I started to mention just a little while ago, and Ken did part of it, is that if you stop under the green, you lose an awful lot. If you stop under the yellow, like Lyondike's team, they should go every inch that they can go, because you never know when the yellow's going to happen.
Car 3 is Paul Tracy, who's running 8th. Paul Tracy across the start-finish line. Tracy is now moved up to 7th place. Kugelman is 8th. Scott Goodyear is 9th. And Ari Lyondike is 10th after the pit stop. There is Paul Tracy all over Mario Andretti. Andretti, though, will go a lap down to Tracy. Mario Andretti is running 13th. Paul Tracy is 7th. Nigel Mansell is coming into the pits. Let's go down to Sally Larvik.
And we wait as his team goes over the wall. 78 laps, and Nigel Mansell is into the pits. The car stops right on the mark. They go to work filling the tank. They're going to put full fuel in the tank, change all 4 tires. Now we are hoping that this is the last pit stop that Nigel Mansell will make. Some of the other cars will indeed have to make a splash and go. The car's down off the jacks, and Nigel Mansell is out on the track.
Oh my, and Adrian Fernandez is out of fuel. It looks like Fernandez had just taken the lead, the Mexican rookie. Oh, he can't believe it. Look at him smash the dashboard. Al Unser Jr. is now the race leader. Al Unser Jr., Mansell is 2nd, but oh my, Bobby Unser, Adrian Fernandez had taken the lead, stayed out 1 lap too long.
Well, Rick Gallus calls those shots. He gambled too hard. Rick should know better than do that. He's been doing this a long time. Adrian was running good. Rick Gallus called the shots. He just thought he was getting better mileage than he was.
Bobby Unser had laryngitis. He's doing fine. Al Unser Jr., car 31, had food poisoning. He is the race leader with Nigel Mansell 2nd. Al Unser Jr. with 7 victories coming to Vancouver in 12 races. There is the Takati car out of fuel. Adrian Fernandez's car. Al Unser Jr. with food poisoning. Missed qualifying on Friday, was weak yesterday, weak this morning. Oh my, Bobby, what a job he's done here today.
He certainly has. A little bit more on Adrian Fernandez also. It could be the reason Rick Gallus missed a little bit is all these cars, or most of them, have what we call telemetry. The computer on board the cars sends it to the pits and tells them how much fuel theoretically that the car has. Now, I'm going to have to guess, after I thought it over a little bit, that was probably the reason Rick probably got a wrong reading. Sometimes these computers send a wrong message, but I think that's the only way Rick would ever let him run out of fuel.
Well, we're under a full course yellow now, and Al Unser Jr. does not elect to come in. We'll see if he comes in. We're under a full course yellow as Al Jr. in the field come across the start-finish line. Now, Let me update the standings. There's Emerson Fittipaldi, car 2. He's moved into 2nd place. Bobby Rahal is 3rd. Robbie Gordon is 4th. Paul Tracy is now 5th. And Mansell has dropped down to 6th place after that pit stop. Adrian Fernandez is out of this race. Rick Gallis has to be disappointed, Sally.
Well, he certainly is, and we're still not sure that the problem is running out of fuel, are we, Rick? You really don't know what the problem is.
We don't know what it is, because we should have plenty of fuel left. We were being conservative. It may be electrical. We won't know until we get him back in here.
Okay, you were talking to Billy Camphausen. Could he shed any light on the situation out there?
No, he doesn't know either.
Okay, so they're just waiting, and they're going to find out as we are.
All right, Sally, Bobby, you heard your buddy Rick Gallis say there seemed to be a lot of fuel in that car.
Yes, well, that's that telemetry thing. It comes and tells them what it is, and I've seen it be wrong. Now, another story, which is the big story for us, is that according to my calculations, Little Al and Emmo will be able to go to the end, if my calculations are right, without fuel. Little Al is leading the race. There's Emmo right behind him. Of course, there's Ray Hall and Robbie Gordon. You can finish out those stories, but I don't think those guys are going to have to stop.
And there's Paul Tracy, who's 5th. Oh, my, what a story here in Vancouver. Stay with us. Live coverage of the 1994 edition of the Molson Indy Vancouver will continue on CBC. Three-time Indy 500 champion Bobby Unser, Sally Larvick, and Ken Daniels. I'm Brian Williams. The beauty of British Columbia as we come back to Vancouver under a full course yellow. It's Al Unser Jr. first, Emerson Fittipaldi second, Bobby Rahal third. Robbie Gordon has moved up to 4th. Paul Tracy is 5th. Nigel Mansell is 6th. Bobby Unser during the commercial break, I said, you ever seen a race this good?
Oh, my Lord. You know, I think we've been on top of everything, but if we blink our eyes, we miss it. It's just been happening from the start to right now. One of the most exciting races I've ever seen.
Well, the attendance, look at this. In 1994, 70,639. That is a record. The 3-day total, more than 160,000. And that 70,000 is probably a single-day Canadian attendance sporting record across the start-finish line. And I think I see 2 fingers up there. The starter holding 2 fingers up, so we'll have at least one more lap, possibly 2. How many fingers, Bobby?
Well, I see 1, but he keeps moving. If he holds still, I could count better.
All right. And there it is. I see 1 now.
Okay.
All right.
Depends on where I read it, right?
Let's go down to Kenny Daniels. Ken?
Well, Brian, you know, they wouldn't, in Al Unser's pit, they wouldn't mind the flag out the yellow for another 5 or so, because when you say how close are you going to be on fuel at the end, it's about this close. They're going to have to recalculate as soon as it grows green, but Al Unser's car very close at the end on the fuel consumption. Let's go down to Sally.
Well, it's kind of interesting as to who you talk to, because I was just in Al Jr.'s pit and also in Emerson's pit, and they said they can go all the way, but the problem is they have to nurse it. They have to lean it out, and Bobby, you can explain what that means, but they can go the distance if they're just careful. Nigel, on the other hand, just took on fuel. He doesn't have to worry about that situation. He's got fresh tires, so he can really go for it, so it's really going to be an exciting finish.
Well, you're absolutely right, Sally. I'm glad you got that, because what it is, they can adjust the amount of fuel that's used in the cockpit of the car. The problem is they make less horsepower when they lean it down more, but they can lean them down quite a bit. But with Mansell back there, that's their whole problem. That's going to cause them to either give it up or get with it. Right there's Nigel Mansell. Now, he's got to pass a few cars before he gets there, but he's got time to do it yet.
22 of 28 cars are still running. Out of the race, Raul Boisel, Jacques Villeneuve, Willie T. Ribbs, Stefan Johansson, Buddy Legier, and Alessandro Zampedre. The next time by the start-finish areas, we round out the top 10. The green flag should be out here in Vancouver. There it is, the racing again. So it's Al Unser Jr., followed by Emerson Fittipaldi. Robbie Gordon goes by Bobby Rahal. What a pass!
On the outside, now we haven't seen a pass in turn 1 on the outside yet.
Oh my, there's Fittipaldi. Gordon is now 3rd. Rahal is 4th. Mario is not a factor. Car 6, he is well down. But look at this, driving 2 and 3 abreast. A wild day here in Vancouver. And You can't do that. There's no way. That's Bobby Rahal.
Really hurt him. He got into the turn too deep. He used good judgment, but that's a penalty. You can't cut across and make a gain. But
now, Bobby, what will the penalty be? Because Rahal was running fourth.
Well, he laid back and didn't continue out across the track. We'll have to see. Wally doesn't always give the same penalty all the time.
That's Wally Dallenbach.
Wally Dallenbach. So let's see. It could be a stop and go penalty, but he did create his own penalty by laying back.
Robbie Gordon has passed Emerson Fittipaldi. So Robbie Gordon has moved up to second. The young Californian, there's Fittipaldi, as Fittipaldi is dueling it out with Mario Andretti, but Andretti is more than a lap down. Car 6 is Andretti, car 2 is Fittipaldi. And that looked like Paul Tracy bumped Eddie Cheever a bit going into the corner. Paul Tracy is running fourth.
Now, on Emerson Fittipaldi, let's remember, he's behind Little Al in the points, but he can't afford to lose points. He has to gain points, hoping that Little Al does have problems for the championship, which is really important to that team right now. So Emil's playing it a little bit conservative.
82 of 102 laps complete. The Penske's are 1, 3, and 4. There's Fittipaldi, there's Tracy. And in between them is Eddie Cheever, but Cheever is way down in 19th place, more than a lap down. Car 2 is Fittipaldi. There's Paul Tracy in the other Marlboro car, now on board with Bobby Rahal. This is the pass where Gordon goes by Rahal. Look at that.
I didn't think I'd see that. That's a wide open turn through there. It's very strange for me to see that.
Now, folks, if you're just joining us, car 9 is Robbie Gordon. He's driving for Derek Walker. Walker Racing, a Lola with Ford Cosworth power. Bobby Unser, the young man, started on the pole in Toronto, had tire problems, started on the pole here in Vancouver, made a mistake at the end of the course and had to go wide, come through the pits, then had a punctured tire, went back out of the top 10, and has worked his way up into the number 2 position, 4.2 seconds behind the race leader, Al Unser Jr.
Robbie Gordon is a new driver. He's without doubt one of the most sought-after drivers there is because he is so aggressive and he shows that he has an exceptional amount of talent. Now, along with that comes a mistake every now and then, and that's what we've seen today. But believe me, he is going to win some races.
Well, Paul Tracy has gone by Eddie Cheever. Now, we'll show you Fittipaldi. There's Fittipaldi. There is Tracy. They are running third and fourth. Tracy could be about ready to make a move on Emerson Fittipaldi. Al Unser Jr. is the race leader. Robbie Gordon is second, and let's check in with Sally Larvick.
Okay, you mentioned about Bobby Rahal. There's no problem with the car. He locked it up going into the chicane, and I asked him if there was going to be a penalty, and they said no because he did stop, and that was the rule. He would stop, and then they would wave him through. So Bobby Rahal's back out on the track. No problem with the car so far. No penalty. They're happy about that.
All right, Sally, good information. Thank you. Rahal is running 9th. He was up at the front, so no penalty. He's running 9th. There's Emerson Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy, 3rd and 4th, respectively. Now, they come into the start-finish area, across the start-finish line. Car 2, Fittipaldi. Car 3, Tracy. Bobby Unser, it's going to be interesting at the end of this straightaway, going into turn 3.
Well, it becomes important for Fittipaldi. Back to the points battle. Winning the race is not important to him right now. Of course, he'd like to. I don't mean that. But what is important is the point for the end of the year. He's got to hope that Little Al does bad and that he just keeps piling up points. And it's so important because a lot of money at the end of the year.
Nigel Mansell is now 5th. Michael Andretti 6th. Gugelman 7th. Scott Goodyear is 8th. Rahal, I mentioned, 9th. Ari Leyendijk is 10th. Car 1, right there is Nigel Mansell running 5th. Michael Andretti, the target car, is right behind him in 6th place. Michael Andretti has had a roller coaster ride, to say the least, up and down here in Vancouver this afternoon.
Got 17 laps left to go. Whoa!
Eddie Cheever.
Yeah, locking them up going in, what so many guys have done. Sorry to say, there's 17 laps to go. Game planning with the drivers. Now is when they start doing a little bit of thinking. Are they hurting their tires? Are they driving as hard as they can? Who's ahead of them? There's a lot of thinking going on in those cars right now.
On board with Nigel Mansell to the end of the straightaway on Pacific, into the hairpin, and just in front of him is Paul Tracy. Mansell is 5th. There's Tracy. Well, there's Fittipaldi, who is 3rd. Tracy, who's 4th, and Mansell right there is 5th. What a battle.
Now, one of the things about Mansell, we saw him lead so much of the race, and he's back there a little bit now with a full load of fuel. That hurts you a little bit. When at the end of the race, Little Al and Fittipaldi, for example, are going to be almost empty. A lighter car obviously goes faster than a heavy car. So that's probably partial the reason that Mansell is not passing up the cars that we expect him to do. There's Michael sliding right underneath Cheever there. Michael's still really hooked up and going good.
Bobby, as we look at Michael, who's running 6th, on lap 83, Al Jr.'s lead over Robbie Gordon was 4.28. 84, 5.28, 85, 6.5, 87, nearly 8 seconds. So as we look at the cars of Tracy has gone by Fittipaldi, it now means that Al Unser Jr. is opening up some distance between himself and the rest of the field.
Well, that's what he wants, and plus he's out in clean air. In other words, no traffic except for occasionally lap traffic, and that's what he really needs. If he wins this race, he's going to get a lot closer to the championship.
Paul Tracy, as I mentioned, has just passed Emerson Fittipaldi. You're on board with Nigel Mansell, who is running 5th, looking ahead to Fittipaldi, who's 4th. Paul Tracy is now 3rd behind, and Mansell has now gone ahead of Fittipaldi. There's got to be something wrong maybe with Fittipaldi's car. Right behind him is Michael Andretti. Fittipaldi's car too. We'll stay for this just a minute. On board with Michael Andretti as he too reels in Emerson Fittipaldi. There definitely has to be something wrong with Fittipaldi's car, Bobby.
He's definitely going backwards. He's still running. We don't see anything that's obvious, but he's definitely falling back.
So the top 4 as we take a commercial break here in Vancouver. It gets crazier by the minute. It's Al Unser Jr., Robbie Gordon, Paul Tracy, and Nigel Mansell. Back for the finish of the race here in Vancouver. The leader is car 31, Al Unser Jr., followed by Robbie Gordon, Paul Tracy, Nigel Mansell, Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Gugelman, Goodyear, Ray Hall, and Ari Lyondike. Let's find out more about the Fittipaldi car from Sally Larver.
Okay, well, we talked to the Penske crew, and they had told us earlier that there is nothing wrong with the car. Is that the case, Rick Reineman, who is the crew chief? What about Emo's car? The thought is that maybe there's something wrong with it.
Well, the problem we had at the start of when it went green again was our rear tires are cold, and the way this car is set up, you know, the tires need to be hot in the rear for us to get any bite off the corners, and you know, it enabled everybody to get around us. We're running all right now because, again, the rear tires have heat in them.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. Brian?
Sally, it's Al Unser Jr. is still leading, but there is car 3, Paul Tracy. He is pursued by Mansell. Tracy is 3rd, Mansell is 4th, followed by Michael Andretti. Fittipaldi is 6th, Gugelman 7th, Goodyear is now 8th, Ray Hall 9th, and Ari Lyondike is 10th.
Mansell is pushing awfully hard to get up to Tracy.
Paul Tracy is car 3. The Penske Ilmore now on board with Nigel Mansell. Hey, here's a great shot as Mansell tries to reel in Paul Tracy for 3rd place behind the leader Al Unser Jr. and Robbie Gordon.
And remember, sometimes you look at, there's Mario and there's Mansell. They look like the same cars. You have to look at the numbers to tell the difference. Sometimes I get a little confused. That's Mansell that's pushing on Tracy really hard.
Down on the Pacific Boulevard, on board with Nigel Mansell, down Pacific Boulevard and into the hairpin. Car 3 is Tracy, car 1 is Mansell, and there is Michael Andretti, who is all over Nigel Mansell. Now we go on board with Michael Andretti. We look ahead to Nigel Mansell, and in front of him, Paul Tracy.
Right into the first chicane. Right under the BC place now. It gets a little bit dark. Into another chicane when they come out of this. What we call an outside chicane. That's the last one of the chicanes right there.
Now as we look at this group, Tracy, Mansell, and Andretti, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Al Unser, the leader's gap between himself and Robbie Gordon is nearly 8 seconds. Tracy is 2 seconds behind Robbie Gordon. Across the start-finish line, Mario Andretti is 12th and a lap down in car 6. Car 3 is Paul Tracy running 3rd, pursued by car number 1, Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti.
There goes Michael right underneath Mansell.
Well, yes, Michael Andretti has moved into 4th place, dropping Mansell down to 5th.
Same place he did his passes earlier, Brian. Nobody expects him to do them there. Fabulous pass.
They've completed 92 of 102 laps in Vancouver. Let's have a look at this pass, Bobby.
Now, you see, Mansell really doesn't expect this. Michael just kind of baited him, left him alone for a while, and he went right into the low side just like he did before. He blocked him. Look at Mansell's turn in. When he says, wow, he looks over. Look at him shake his head. He says, I can't believe he did that. Good racing.
Good racing indeed. The leader is car 31, Al Unser Jr., now with an 8.3 second lead over Robbie Gordon. We'll wait for the number 2 car, Robbie Gordon. There it is. It's a long time. Car 9 is Gordon, who's running second, followed by Paul Tracy and Michael Andretti. There's Tracy. Look at Michael Andretti all over Paul Tracy.
Michael's really been aggressive today. I still think that he has the best handling race car. He just had a little bit of luck go along with it, or bad luck go along with it, like that flat tire he had, you know.
Michael Andretti will move back to Newman Haas next year. And Nigel Mansell goes back to Formula One. A lot of speculation that Paul Tracy will join Michael at Newman Haas. There's Robbie Gordon. There's Tracy. There's Michael. And there's Mansell. Very, very close for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
There went Tracy around. He got bumped. He absolutely was held up by Michael. Got a bump in the back. Tracy's really had his problems today. Let's see if his engine is still going.
Paul Tracy on the final turn. Stop. There's Nigel Mansell, the yellow flag. It's not a full course yellow. There's Michael Andretti, pursued now by Emerson Fittipaldi. So Andretti is now 3rd. Fittipaldi is 4th. It's Unser and Gordon running 1-2. So a tough break for Paul Tracy. Whose fault again, Bobby?
Well, that would happen so quick. I guess I'd have to see it again to call that one. I think it was here it is. Now Mario, number 6 car. Paul Tracy got in too deep. He was being pressured by Michael. I'd say call that one a neutral, a racing accident, something that was just totally unavoidable.
Maybe Mario Andretti.
Accidents are not always somebody's fault. In motor racing, sometimes they're just unavoidable.
Mario Andretti on his final appearance in Vancouver, driving very, very slowly. Paul Tracy's coming into the pits. What a disappointing development. Look at the front left of the car.
Wing is broken. He's got a flat tire, it looks like. He probably got it punctured when he got touched from behind. Look at the nose on Michael's car. He got into the back of him.
So it's out. Hey, there's Teo Fabi. Fabi, oh my! Michael Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi just getting by Fabi. There goes Scott Goodyear in the hairpin at the end of Pacific Boulevard.
That's a blind spot for the guys. That's a terrible surprise to come around and see a car sitting almost sideways like that.
And it's a full course yellow there, and a full course yellow now. So they've completed 95 out of 102 laps. Car 11, Jimmy Hall's car. Remember Jim Hall, the Texan from the days of Can-Am Racing. And here is a steaming Paul Tracy. Ken Daniels.
Yeah, Paul's out of the car. You overshot the pit. Obviously, they're just moving the car out because his day is done. And right now, it doesn't look as though Paul wants to talk to anyone. He's being ushered away. But when he took off that steering wheel, he threw it down. And now he's just avoiding everybody if he can, Brian.
All right, Ken, I'm not sure we can see that replay again. He's talking to Rick Mears. Rick Mears is saying, calm down. Let's see it again. Now, that's Andretti on the right. Is it Andretti's fault, maybe?
No, it really isn't. Look at her. Michael was pushing Paul. There's nothing he can do about it. The 3 cars just got close. Paul happened to get in there too close to Mario. I mean, it's just one of those things that happen. You just can't call that one as anybody's fault. It was totally unavoidable. It's just too many cars in one tight place. Now, the thing that you're going to have to watch for, this yellow is exactly what Michael needs. It's the thing that little Al has to worry. Look at that, that thing almost turned out a lot worse than we thought. But it's the thing that little Al has to worry about the most. The yellow closes everybody back up now. Little Al will, of course, be in the lead to start it off. Nobody needs any more fuel. So it's going to be a question of, does little Al have the speed, or does Michael have the speed right now?
Well, Paul Tracy was running 3rd. A dejected Paul Tracy with four-time Indianapolis 500 champion Rick Mears. Absolutely unbelievable replays from those onboard cameras showing Mario, then Paul Tracy coming up behind, and Michael Andretti. Let's have a look again. Now, this is down at the hairpin. This is Teo Fabi's problem in Jim Hall's car as he gets in front of Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal goes around. Rahal is currently running in 8th place. Now, here are the onboard. This is what Andretti saw with Fabi.
Whoa, look at that. Look at that. That's not a good surprise
you
to
talked
have.
about. That's
Yeah, you just can't see it. The corner workers can't tell you soon enough. Now, that one was Ray Hall's fault. He got in there and bumped Fabi around, something that you have to call that one Ray Hall's fault, period.
Well, under a full course yellow, Scott Goodyear is 6th ahead of Nigel Mansell. Under a full course yellow, Paul Tracy is out of the race. It's Al Unser Jr., the leader. Robbie Gordon is 2nd. Emerson Fittipaldi is 3rd. Michael Andretti is 4th. Mauricio Gugelmin, the Brazilian, driving a good race, is 5th. Scott Goodyear is 6th. Nigel Mansell is 7th. Bobby Rahal is 8th. Ari Leyendijk is 9th. And Mark Smith is 10th. Boy, and those onboard cameras with those replays, as we look at Claude Bourbonnet's car, he's out of the race from Quebec. Both players' cars out earlier, of course, was Jacques Villeneuve. There's the race leader. Now, what this full course yellow does, ladies and gentlemen, is it allows car 9 to close right up on car 31, Al Unser Jr. At the time of that shunt, of course, the gap was 7 or 8 seconds. As they come around and prepare to go racing, look at this. There's Al Jr. There's Robbie Gordon right behind him. They'll get the green flag as they come around to complete lap 98. Very quickly, as they get the green flag, Gordon is right behind Al Unser Jr., followed by Fittipaldi and Andretti. Let's go down to Ken Daniels.
Brian, I'm with Paul Tracy, who's very upset. Paul, what happened?
Well, it's, Michael Andretti again. He runs into the back of everybody. He just bulldozes everybody out of the way. And, it's been in Toronto. He took me out of the race there. And here in Vancouver, he took me out again.
What do you do? Did you talk to him?
No, what can you do? He's been warned for running into people by Carton. And, nothing's been being done about it. He's got no black flag, no nothing. He's in 3rd spot right now.
Paul Tracy, thank you. Brian?
All right, Bobby, answer your reactions.
Well, I still call it a racing accident, something that was unavoidable, not anybody's fault. Everybody had their own problem right in that little mess. Those things happen. The big thing right now is the contest is on. This is going to show who really has the fastest cars. You got Little Al, you got Gordon, and you've got Michael Andretti. All three have been fast. You can see the distance between them right there. It's close, but it appears that Little Al is pulling away just a little bit.
Al Unser Jr. is car 31, trying to win for the 8th time in 1994. There's the leader, Al Jr. Right there is Robbie Gordon. Mario is not a factor, and there is Michael Andretti, who's running 3rd. Sally Larvik?
And there's a problem with Robbie Gordon's car, a gearbox problem there.
Well, it's a little bit difficult getting into 3rd gear occasionally, and of course you only need a little bit of a hesitation on these corners. The guy gets a run at you, and that's about the only way to pass. So with Michael closing in on us, obviously we're concerned.
Yeah, and that was the same gear that broke yesterday during qualifying.
Well, it was in the gearbox. It wasn't exactly the same problem.
Okay, so he's keeping cool, but I'll bet he's just tied up in knots inside, Brian.
Indeed, with 3 laps to go, you saw Michael Andretti. There's Michael, he's 3rd, and right behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi. Scott Goodyear is now 5th. There's Michael Andretti. There's Emerson Fittipaldi. They are running 3rd and 4th, respectively, and there is Scott Goodyear 5th.
I've been watching Michael's car, and he's having a push. Now, here's at the end of the long straightaway, or excuse me, not there, but there's the hairpin turn at the end of the long straightaway. You watch Michael when he comes out of there, he's pushing really bad, meaning his front end doesn't turn. That's going to prevent him from going up and really being aggressive, trying to get 2nd place out of this thing.
Al Unser Jr., who did not even attempt to qualify on Friday, had bad food poisoning, ate some, what did you say, seafood in Phoenix?
Seafood in Phoenix he's got, and he's really been smart today because he paced himself. He doesn't have the strength. He told me this morning he was probably 80% is all, and he went slow or easy at the start. There's a white flag, 1 to go, and he went slow through the whole race. He comes on strong at the end. So that's really showing that the driver's got some setting.
Of course, you should never eat seafood in Phoenix. Al Unser Jr. about to win his 8th race of the year. This is race 13. There's Robbie Gordon, who's second. And Gordon, just to be second, is an amazing accomplishment because he started on the pole as he did in Toronto, but had all kinds of troubles, overshot the final turn, had to come through the pits, had a flat tire, and has worked his way back up for Derek Walker. Al Unser Jr. about to take the checkered flag for the 3rd time in Vancouver. This is the 5th year for the Molson Indy Vancouver, and this will break the tie because Michael Andretti has won twice and Al Unser Jr. has won twice as well. Al Unser Jr. wins in Vancouver. It's official for the 3rd time. Robbie Gordon comes across second. Michael Andretti should be 3rd. And look at this, Nigel Mansell and Emerson Fittipaldi in a crash. They were running 4th and 5th, respectively. Michael Andretti has crossed 3rd. Scott Goodyear will be 4th as both Emerson Fittipaldi and Nigel Mansell are out of this race. Oh my, on the final turn before the start-finish area, you saw him fire the steering wheel across.
There's 2 guys that are right now very mad at each other, and they are the 2 of the best of friends. So it shows you how much pressure there is in racing. Now, I don't know whose fault it was yet, but I'll guarantee you, each one thinks it was the other's fault. They are disgusted.
Here it is. Let's have a look on board with Mansell.
Now, obviously, Mansell got pushed right into the wall trying to pass Emerson Fittipaldi. It's such a look right there that I couldn't call that one, Brian.
Well, what it meant was Emerson was running 3rd. Nigel was 4th. They're out of the race. So Al Unser, as you saw, wins the race. Gordon 2nd. Michael Andretti, therefore, is 3rd. And how about Scott Goodyear? He's 4th again in Vancouver. Let's stay with a shot as that's Nigel Mansell. Emerson is coming up behind him. Now look at, they're yelling. Look at this. Look at this.
But you got to remember one thing. They have so much respect. They are the very closest of friends. They're having a strong disagreement, but that's really as far as it'll go.
Well, it's no secret that Nigel Mansell can't stand Mario Andretti, and the feeling is mutual. They are teammates, but as Bobby says, Nigel and Emerson Fittipaldi are normally the best of friends. There you see Nigel in the center of your screen. Look to the right, Fittipaldi in red, just coming between the 2 Marlboro people and out to the right of your screen. So Nigel Mansell and Emerson Fittipaldi, there's Scott Goodyear, car 40. He finishes 4th, but I don't know what to say, Bobby Unser. There's your nephew, the winner, Al Unser Jr. Maybe an appropriate way to end what has been an amazing race here in Vancouver today. So many changes and such a bizarre race in many ways, and bizarre right to the end. Al Unser Jr. winning for the 8th time this year. I might have said 9th. He wins for the 8th time this year in 13 races. He's now won 3 in a row, too.
I just don't ever remember seeing a race with so many happenings, and it's from the start through the middle and to the end. And every time that we think we get it figured out, something else happens. Penske's strategies came out extremely good, and yet Lady Luck had an awful lot to do with it because of the yellows. So how does Penske have such good strategies and link it in with the yellows? That's Lady Luck an awful lot.
Well, I mentioned Al Unser Jr. winning for the 8th time. Let's have a look at that accident again. This is Mansell, and you'll see Andretti or Fittipaldi on the left.
He had his tire right front locked up, but what we didn't see was what Emil was doing, which was coming down on him. In other words, Mansell was trying to pass him. Not a good place to try to pass Emil right there. Emil obviously didn't see it coming on. Mansell got pushed into the wall, but I guess after I've seen it this many times, I have to say Mansell should have been trying to pass him right then. Let's go down to Ken, who's down there right now.
Well, I'm here with Little Al, Bobby. Little Al, how do you feel? First of all, the win's great, but overall, you must feel pretty weak right about now.
Yeah, well, we're pretty sore and inside, but winning makes you feel a lot better. So it sure did make for the weekend really good, and I just want to thank the whole Marlboro team, Penske. they did a great job, and you know, we were just hanging in there, and Roger sure did call the race perfect. You know, he called us in. We needed track position, and we had a short stop on that first stop, and the guys did an awesome job all day long. I want to thank them.
Bob, you mentioned how important pacing was today for yourself.
Yeah, well, we definitely paced ourselves all day, and you know, it worked. I kept my fluids in me and really concentrated on that because that's really what made me weak. So kept a lot of fluids in us, and the Marlboro team came home first.
Al Unser Jr., winner in Vancouver. What else is new, Sally?
Okay, and if you can give an award for perseverance, it would have to go to this young man, Robbie Flash Gordon. I'll tell you, everything just about happened to you on the track today. You want to go over it with us, or do you want to be reminded of it?
Well, you know, first I got to thank the Valvoline crew and Derek Walker, because, you know, I made a mistake there that got me back there with Adrian Fernandez, and he ran into me and gave me a flat tire. You know, that was my fault for making the mistake and getting back there. I got to give credit to Derek for making the right calls and calling me in the pits at the right time to get back up on the lead lap again, and put ourselves in the position to race Al at the end.
Well, then you had problems with your gears, too.
Yeah, we did have problems with our gears the last 30 laps. It was really unfortunate because I didn't have third gear. And I think if we would have had third gear, we would have been able to give Al a run for his money.
Okay, congratulations, Robbie Gordon. You're not even breaking a sweat. I guess that's what 25 years old does to you. Let's go to Ken Daniels.
All right, Sally, I'm with Michael Andretti, who was a third today, another man who's used to winning in Vancouver. From your perspective, how tough a race was this today for you?
It was a real tough one. We had a lot of problems. I had 2 flat tires, and I had problems with my rear brakes locking, and I ran into the back of a few people because when I got on the brakes, my rears just locked and I went straight into them, and, you know, I just feel bad about it, especially what happened with Tracy, and, you know, it was definitely not done intentionally.
Yeah, Paul Tracy had some pretty harsh words for you. We said, what do you do? Do you talk to him? And he more or less accused you of always being that way and perhaps too aggressive. I know some have said that about Tracy too. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you know, the only way you're going to pass on a track like this is to be aggressive, and I wasn't even trying to pass him at that point. And, you know, he has every right to be mad right now, but I'm sure we'll have a talk and work it out.
All right, Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Andretti. Brian?
All right, Ken Daniels, it's Al Unser Jr., followed by Robbie Gordon, Michael Andretti. Scott Goodyear, fourth, ran a strong race here today, Bobby Unser. We've overlooked, I guess, the Brazilian Guchelman and Parker Johnston's a rookie. Emerson Fittipaldi and Mansell, who were involved in that accident on the final corner, will finish, let's see, 9th and 10th, respectively, as we run down the entire field for you. 28 cars started here today. And Alessandro Zampedri was the first car to go out of the race with that fire that we saw early on. So now the driver's standings, and let's see, we've got 3 races to go. This is race 13 in a 16-race season. Let's hold those stats up for just a minute. Al Unser Jr. now with that big lead over Emerson Fittipaldi. I guess he technically has not wrapped it up, but it's almost impossible because the most you can get is 22 points a race. So Fittipaldi would have to win the next 3 races. He would have to get a point for the pole in each race and a point for the most laps led, and Al Jr. would have to, of course, finish out of the points. So I would say mathematically Al Unser Jr. has not wrapped it up, but really I think we can crown him the IndyCar champion for 1994. We'll return to Vancouver. Lots more to come on this Sunday.